Okay, my friends, we are on a voyage. This requires a turkey feather. Now, what voyage are we on? We are on a voyage of our eternal destiny. And what can we determine about that? What was written about it? Because everybody talks about the Bible. I mean, that's it. The Bible, the Quran, case closed. Well, no. There is all kinds of ancient text. And I am looking at every one of them. Now, and I'm starting to see something that's really intriguing me. Now, this is the Kolbrin Bible, which survived, and this was pre-biblical. This was in the early biblical era, and it was written, I guess, extremely well. And what I'm reading is very interesting. Now, it was preserved in Great Britain until 18 something, when they had a giant fire. But thank God they had this all in bronze sheets that survived from the fire, so they still had the text. Now, I'm going to read you a little bit of this, because let's start off in the beginning, because this is where I'm going to start with the Kolbrin Bible. It's fascinating, and it seems to take in not only the Jesus side of it, because it talks about Jesus and so forth, I believe. I'm just starting to get into it. But it says that they believe, well, here, let me just show you a couple quick things about it. But it talks about the Kolbrin Bible, substantial biblical era wisdom text of immense value to comparative religious scholars. And that's what I'm doing. I'm comparing all of the different texts and seeing what they said. Because you got the Hindus, you got the Buddhists, you've got Enoch texts, you've got, of course, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Nag Hammadi, you got the Bible, you got the Quran, you got all kinds of things. And then you have all your tribal histories, and they all seem to fit a pretty close narrative. Now, so this goes way back, and it's immense value to comparative religious scholars, that's what I am going to try to do, become a religious scholar. And I have a ton of people that are religious scholars that I'm working with. Now, this space threat researchers and philosophers. So this talks about space. It talks about our religion, where God is and what his thought process was and why we were created. And it goes into the philosophy of what our life is like, and what are we meant to be like, and what are we meant to do, and what's going to happen to us when we die. Because they could come to the first words out of this thing talk about, here we are in the after, in the real life. You're in the wrong life, us. We're in the dark life. We will go into that bright life if we choose it. So, and they're trying to guide us through. And this is quite an interesting text. So it says that it shows that the reader has the ancients pooled their teachings together to overcome the worldwide series of catastrophes that spawned the Exodus. Now, the catastrophes that spawned the Exodus, Velikovsky wrote about them, and he said that Jupiter gave birth to the mighty god and comet, fiery god and comet, Venus, 3,500 years ago. Venus wasn't even here 3,500 years ago. It just came on board. And and Velikovsky did a tremendous amount of research that was all verified as true. And he was the one that gave all of the estimations of the temperature, to this, to that, about Venus, and he was right, and Einstein was wrong. And Einstein, I think, finally did acquiesce to him and say, yes, Velikovsky was right, and then he took his last breath and died. Now, because I think they said he had Velikovsky's book on his dresser when he died. Now, it also sends forth clear, urgent warnings of a repeat of these catastrophes. Because Velikovsky, this is the clay tablets say every 3,600 years, Nibiru comes back around, and they call it the Destroyer. If you got to read the clay tablets, you got to read everything. Enki, Enlil, all of that stuff. And it all starts to make sense when you see the captives were the workers. They bred us to be workers. Sitchin did a lot of work on this. And he didn't get his correct due. I believe he's dead now, but he was right about the things he was saying. Now, and these catastrophes are supposed to come back to us every 3,600 years, and we are almost in that year. And it also teaches us how, as a species, we can survive and overcome them, because they've been through them. They said this. We've been through this stuff. We're going to tell you what's going on. Now, so then he talks about the comparative religious scholars. It's invaluable insights into the ancient wisdoms and the Egyptian texts and all this stuff. Space, it talks about what's going to happen. Nostradamus and all these things. The massive object called the destroyer is going to come around every 3,600 years. The Mayans knew this stuff. Everybody knew these things. We are the ones that just laughed at it. No, the philosophers. The Kolbrin Bible differs from the Holy Bible and Quran. It offers a human-centered look at the consistent with many New Age beliefs, because we're starting to understand now that they were right in the past. So these aren't New Age beliefs. These are re-emerging Old Age beliefs. The personal accounts in the Kolbrin Bible offer invaluable insights in a time machine journey into the genesis of the early religious and metaphysical thought following the Hebrew exodus from Egypt. This is where this is just fascinating to me, to be honest with you. It teaches that we best serve God, the light behind the light, by serving one another. All right, so we see the light. The light is the light. God is the light behind the light. And I believe his son was Jesus Christ. And I'm starting to believe now that Jesus Christ had a bunch of different personas. Starting, well, not necessarily starting, but I believe Thoth, the Atlantean, could have been Jesus Christ. And I also believe Enoch, I mean, I don't know now. I got to be honest with you. I'm going to just do a ramble. I think I'm going to have to start a new channel called Roger's Rambles, because that's what it's going to be. There's so much to think about that as you even just start to discuss it, your mind just wanders off to here and there, and then I start talking about it. I'm like Trump. You know, once you start talking about something, if you have an active mind, what are you supposed to do? Just stop and not think about things? You know, anyway. So now, a similar history to the Library of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria was a gigantic, immense, enormous 700,000 scrolls of the wisdom of that day, of the previous days and up to that day. And when Caesar invaded, they burnt it in 48 to 47 BC. Julius Caesar's invasion of Alexandria, according to the Roman philosopher Gillius, they sacked Alexandria, destroying 700,000 scrolls. Now, why would they do that? Just an accident? I don't think so. I think they just wanted to get rid of the narrative and start a new one. Now, did somebody else do that before? Were those scrolls that they burnt up valid? I don't know. I have no idea at this point. All I know is that I want to look through all of these different religions and see what they're all saying. They're all talking about floods. They're all talking about dragons. They're all talking about creatures coming here from somewhere else. There's got to be some consistency here. I mean, I know there is consistency, but who has the most consistent consistency? Because I can see there's bits and pieces been nibbled out of everywhere. Or they're all the same story, just told with a different inflection. I mean, I don't know what to say at this point. So it's going to be a ramble, and it's going to be long. It's going to go a long time, because this goes a long time. There's 19 videos. Now, they're short videos, and you want to maybe go over them a couple times and think about them very carefully. But I'm just going to play a little bit of the salutation and a prologue. Well, here. It's outstanding.
Under the authority of revelation and in the Bronze Book, now incorporated in the Kolbrin.
Listen to this.
Greetings, unborn ones, now asleep in the dark womb of the future.
You hear that? Greetings, unborn ones. Let's start again. So, we now are alive, we think. They're saying we're unborn. Here goes.
Now incorporated in the Kolbrin. Greetings, unborn ones, now asleep in the dark womb of the future. Greetings from we, who were once as you are now, and like whom you will one day be. We too hoped and feared, doubted and believed. Were you choosing a gift from the past to the future, what would it be? The golden treasures hoarded by kings, the bright jewels beloved by queens? Is worldly wealth still so important to you? If that would be your choice, above all else, we are disappointed, for our labors have been in vain. Would you prefer the secret of life over eternal youth? Have you altered so little from those who lived and laughed today, with no thought turned towards the future? This thing, which seems so desirable, were it yours, would you value it? Would it never pale? Would you still be grateful for it after 1,000 years have passed? The answer would be yes, if this life were all, the beginning and the end, complete in itself. But might not this life be no more than a prelude, an introduction to something infinitely greater?
All right. I say yes. As far as I can see, there is so much to learn here on Earth that, I don't not just necessarily that it relates to eternity, but, I think it does. There is a ton to learn here on Earth that's being overlooked, and not only overlooked, it's being suppressed. Now, that's when I start to see it as an issue that, I have to confront. I'm confronting it, and the people that are the ones that are suppressing it are the ones that we looked up to for our education. Oh boy, I went to Yale. Oh boy, I went to Harvard. Well, let me tell you something. If you went there, you lost your way. Totally. Because they have no interest whatsoever in the truth. None. Zero. Less than zero. The only thing they are interested in at Yale and Harvard, and all the rest of them, 100%, are their self-interest, that they are not wrong, they are always right, and their status. That is the key for academia. 100%. I haven't found a single conflict to that. Not one. Zero. And I have tried literally over 100 different, way over that. And nothing. Zero. No interest whatsoever. And they talk about this. They come into that where you're going to be misled. And why are they misleading us? Are these just bad people? Are these people being driven by some bad entity? Or are they just feel so proud of themselves that they're so arrogant that they can't allow anybody to say anything that would show that they maybe have a little issue with their correctness. I think that's the key. Now, I don't know. Maybe they are driven by some bad entity. The outcome is the same as far as I'm concerned. They're misleading people. They're trying to hide things. They won't let things be seen that should be seen. And I think this is going to reflect on your eternity. I'm not going to let it reflect on mine. I am not going to be guided by any of that crap. They can say whatever they want to say. And I can say whatever I want to say. I'm being suppressed, trust me, very suppressed. People are telling me all the time they can't find my channel. They put in the exact name of my channel and they have to search for a lot to get to me, and they still can't find me, they say. That's what I'm being told. And I know it's true, because I can't even find myself. Really, I have to save the links so that when I want to find that stuff, I can find it. I can't even search it and find myself.
Is the riddle still unsolved? The secret of the ages still well kept, known only by a few, even when these words are read? How many generations have passed without progress? Does mankind still lie passive, like driftwood upon the sea of spiritual apathy, driven back and forth by changeable winds and conflicting currents, making no headway?
Yep.
Could we leave you the knowledge enabling you to live a life without toil, surrounded by every luxury and pleasure, a magic stone granting every desire, an all-healing potion, the ability to fly or know all things on earth? Would any of these satisfy the desires of your heart and fulfill your dreams? We, who lie so far back along the road, trust you have progressed beyond such petty aspirations. It is beyond our power to give such gifts. And
what he's talking about is worldly things. Boy, I'd love to be able to fly. I'd love to be able to do all these things. I'd love to be able to eat anything I want all day long. Well, if that's what you think is the most important thing in your eternity, because I'm talking about, when I'm talking about life, I'm not talking about today, tomorrow, next week, any of that stuff. I'm talking about our internal existence. Because in my world, you don't just live and die and then you become dust again. That is the academic world, and they have misled us. Absolutely no question whatsoever that their interpretation of the Big Bang Theory is totally wrong, first of all. Secondly, it's there to cover the ability to do whatever they want to do and have no obligation to God. Because I can see that that's exactly what they do. They had no obligation to God whatsoever, to truth, honesty, to their fellow man, as far as I'm seeing. I know, these are terrible indictments. I hate to keep doing this. Some guy said, "I'm fed up with you. You're complaining all the time." Well, let me tell you something. I will complain until this is allowed in mainstream to be seen. I have the DNA, I have the CAT scans, I have the specimens, I have the chemistry, I have the experts, I have every single thing that they would say, "Oh boy, we got exactly what we need." Well, somebody else has it, you don't want to see it. No, we can't see that. Because it does not fit with their suppression of God. And that is exactly the rub, my friends, and I will not let that continue. Okay, my friends, so we're just going to go through all of these, and we're going to discuss them as I go through them. And it's going to be called Roger's Religious Rants. I'm just going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right down the line, and we're going to start from the beginning of the Kolbrin Bible and move forward, and then we're going to go into Enoch, and then we're going to go into the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and everything, 100%, because I'm going to die, and a lot sooner than most of you people, so I want to be ready, and if you want to look in, good for you. All right, I love you. All right, I'm just going to do it real quick. If anybody's taking probiotics and they have any kind of diseases like this COVID-19 where they're getting stomach illness, throwing up, headaches, and the same stuff, I want to know, if they're taking probiotics, did they get that? So far, I haven't had anybody that has been taking probiotics that's reported this. So that's what I want to know. And if you have that symptoms and then you supplement it with probiotics, does it help? All right, very important. Just give me a little note about it, please.